What's up, guys? So, back with another video, and today we're actually featuring my good friend, my Croatian brother, Smiley, who
Uh,
is probably one of the best traders that I know and has very much come out of nowhere to kind of take over crypto Twitter. And a lot of you know him for that exact reason. He's been shouted out by people like GCR, right? Very, very well respected people. So, this guy's the real deal. He knows what he's talking about. And like I said, very good friend of mine. So, Smiley, say hello.
hey, thanks for having me. Very
Yeah, man.
big pleasure. First time on YouTube. You're taking my YouTube virginity, so it is what it is.
All right. So you guys know how I work. I don't fucking sit here and bullshit. I don't give a shit about being the ideal YouTube person with the cute little thumbnail with their mouth open and all that bullshit. I don't care, right? So Smiley is the same way. We're just going to come in and wing it. We're going to talk about the market, discuss some views, our outlooks, all that stuff. We're going to ramble for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that's about it. There's no edits. There's nothing here. It's just one take, one go. We're friends. We're going to talk about the market, and you guys get to watch that. And that's it. So,
Yeah,
uh,
pretty much. We're
first,
just winging it. Yeah.
yeah. So, first, my take on the market is I like 4 hour 200s, right? Because I'm a simple, puny brain pleb. So, 4 hour 200s are my bread and butter, right? And 4 hour 200s have acted as, for Bitcoin specifically, the exact sort of macro top to this entire macro downtrend, right? And the entire downtrend, I'm making videos, tweeting, talking about how, we keep on downtrending, we're continuing to go down. So fuck your, it's priced in narrative, blah, 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 whatever. And then finally, July 18th, I flip bullish, right? I come in, I say, hey, my system across the board is now flipped bullish for ETH, BTC, blah blah blah, whatever. I'm justifying that by saying, hey, we've now created a bullish market structure on the daily, right? We're now above the 4 hour 200s, which we just use as macro tops. And we've broken out of a month long range, right? That same mindset keeps me bullish for the next month. And unfortunately for Bitcoin, only 15%, right? Before eventually, about a week ago, flipping bearish once again while I was on vacation. I was kind of talking about that. So losing the 4 hour 200s, breaking the daily market structure, eventually even falling back inside that June through July range has no longer allowed me to justify having a bullish bias for Bitcoin on a high time frame, which then means if we're not bullish on the daily, right, and we're not bullish on any lower time frames, obviously, because if you're going to break your daily trend, your daily uptrend, your lower time frames have to break downwards first. And when we zoom out to this weekly chart, you know just as well as I do, just as well as a fucking 10-year-old does, within 4 seconds of looking at this chart, this is a downtrend, right? It's very obvious. It's very clear. Again, a 10-year-old can tell you this within 4 seconds of looking at the chart. So if all of a sudden our daily trend breaks and we're portraying that daily trend using something like 4 hour 200s, right? And our daily market structure is broken. And the same things that allowed me to justify a bullish bias back here in July 18th are all of a sudden no longer applicable over here, then I can't be bullish. I can't justify being bullish. And then to take it a step further, and this is what I always talk about scaling assumptions, is if the 1 minute all the way up to, let's say, the 4 hour all the way up to the daily, and we already know that the weekly is all saying downtrend, there's really not much of a bullish argument, right? And to just take it even a step forward, we'll go to something like this lower time frame. So now we're looking at the 30-minute. Let's get rid of this macro sort of range and just draw a brand new low time frame range, right? So this is now the sideways within the macro down that we're looking at. So again, you don't really have a bullish argument here, at least not for me. We're currently at range lows. So if range lows act as range lows and we continue ranging, it's really not that big of a fucking surprise. And if all of a sudden we continue breaking down below the range and we continue downtrending across literally all time frames, then what did you really expect? Because literally all time frames have been screaming downtrend, 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 right? And only as of the past week have we started to go sideways on a very, very, very low time frame, pretty much a trivial time frame, meaningless price action, right? And that's the only counter argument to downtrend amongst literally all time frames for me. And we're barely holding on to that analysis as I'm speaking right now. So I'll just let Smiley talk. We'll show his screen, pull it over here, and Smiley, you go ahead and talk about
Yeah,
your views
you
for
can, you can
Bitcoin.
let me know. You can let me know when the screen's up.
Yeah, yeah, you're good.
Okay, so this is a little meme that I think is justifiable for the current uptrend. So this is pretty much how market is reacting to the lower inflation rates. Like as you know, I'm not a 200 like moving average trader. I trade a bit differently. I'm the dog that barks, as you can all hear from Mercury's videos.
Yeah,
Usually the dogs bark at the wind and they're wrong, and I'm the dog that barks and is correct about 90% of the times. So that's what's a bit special about me, I guess.
yeah,
So this is pretty much a meme. I think the number one guy is the S&P 500, number two guy is BTC, and number three guy is the market participants. It's Ethereum guys that are celebrating inflation lower than expected. But I think inflation at 8.5% is still pretty fucking insane, and I think the market has mispriced that terribly. Also in S&P 500, as we can see. I turned on the 200 moving averages just so your viewers can have some idea.
yeah,
So pretty much this is my opinion. I think they're apes. I think this uptrend is just bear market rally, and I will later show what would prove me wrong. But just today we had Jackson Hole symposium speech from Powell, which resulted in this pretty big red dildo. And if we wanted a continuation upwards on the daily time frame, we would probably want something above this, breaking the 200 daily moving average, which I don't think we're getting. And now I think we're heading for the lows again. I think this is it. The main point from the speech was, here I have the tweet. The main point for the speech was that it's a crucial takeaway for me. Maintaining restrictive policy stance from some time, which means they will keep raising rates despite what the market thinks. And the historical record of cautions strongly against prematurely loosening policies. So what they are saying is pretty much that they will not pivot. They will keep raising rates, and that's something markets have not seen in over a decade, since like 2008, and something Bitcoin has never seen.
yeah,
So we're in a new paradigm. So we want to see how Bitcoin reacts to that. Still, I'm not going to be predicting, which I usually am on Twitter, and I am forecasting on Twitter successfully. But I want everyone to be reactionary. I want everyone to react on what's coming. I don't want someone to speak with conviction, because that can lose you money in the long run. And there's a little meme, I guess, is this Fed pivot in the room with us right now, because the market thought for a month and a half that Fed is going to pivot.
yeah,
And I don't think the Fed pivot is in the room with us right now. So yeah, that's my today's tweet.
yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
super interesting because my viewers know me, and I mean, you know me as well. You know that I'm a fucking puny brain pleb, and like narratives and all that shit is so totally like above my head. So I don't know if you can see my screen, Smiley, but I'm looking at ETH now.
no,
Um,
I can't.
uh, but it's so like unbelievable to me that you can still trade the things like narratives if you truly do have an edge, and I've seen that from your instinct, your intuition is alpha. Mine is not, right? Again, I'm a fucking 23-year-old college dropout. Like I know nothing about anything. I haven't even studied even any sort of finance or economics or anything like that, right? I'm just using these fucking green and blue lines, like the TA equivalent of crayons, and it works, right? To me, it fucking works. So back here at $1,200 ETH, again, the same winner's mindset that I'm applying to Bitcoin, where we only saw a 15% bounce, right? And just think about that for a second. We only saw 15%. On ETH, we saw 60%, right? From where I go bullish, from where I come in and say, this time is different. And I did that by just simply using context and looking at the chart and using my, fifth grader level thinking of what would the 10-year-old tell me that the chart is doing on ETH as of, July 15th ish to like August 18th, right? For that whole month, what is the 10-year-old going to tell me? And they're going to tell me, well, it's heading to the top right corner, right? And I'm justifying that idea for ETH specifically by using something like 2-hour 200s, because that's what the trend is respecting, right? So Smiley, I see you on the side. If you want to go look at the 2 hour, you'll see what I'm talking about. But 2 hour 200s for ETH, and then all of a sudden, same exact concept. I flip bearish here. We then see an immediate, negative 10, negative 15% drawdown, right? And then lo and behold, it just so happens to be that when, Big Daddy Powell comes in to talk and tell everyone, hey, fuck your Fed pivot narrative, like that shit's fucking garbage. It just so happens that ETH is now backtesting those 2 hour 200s as resistance, and then used it as a local, probably even a macro top before the next major leg downwards, right?
Before
It's
plunging lower,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So it's like, it's incredible to me how when you look at something from a TA perspective, as well as when your instinct is, genuinely alpha, you kind of fall into the same, pit of where do you think the market is going? And
It's
the
pretty
way
much it's pretty much show me the charts, I'll tell you the news.
Exactly.
That's
And I
pretty
just I
much.
just had a tweet about that, quoting that exact same quote. It's the exact same thing. It's like I don't give a shit about whatever the narrative is, because personally, like it, and it's hilarious to me too that people this entire way down can tell me, hey, the FUD is priced in, the FUD is priced in, the FUD is priced in. Here we are trading in fucking, early June, and they're screaming the FUD is priced in and the Fed is gonna pivot. And have you heard about the merge and how it's gonna, supply shock ETH and blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, when we start uptrending, it's, hey, you guys are fucking idiots. Here's all the bearish shit that the merge is gonna do, and here's what you haven't thought about for the merge, and blah 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 blah. And your Fed pivot is stupid, and then all of a sudden we break down again. We lose that trend all over again, and now we come in and counter argue, hey, the Fed pivot is coming. Fed pivot is coming. It's like it's so easy to fall victim to a fucking narrative, and it's way easier for most people, if your name isn't Smileycapital, to just simply look at what the chart is doing, and that's going to tell you, in my opinion, what narrative you should abide by. Right when we're downtrending across all time frames, you did not hear me once come in and say, "Oh, did you hear about the ETH merge? Oh, did you hear about the Fed? FUD is priced in, and the Fed is going to pivot, and this fucking bullshit. Here's what's going on in Ukraine." You didn't hear that once from me. But all of a sudden, when we start to uptrend again, I'm a full-fledged, believer of all those narratives. I subscribe to all those narratives. I don't care how fucking absurd they sound. You could tell me Jerome Powell said this, or you could tell me for some reason you think, a koala stuck in a tree somewhere in fucking Australia is bullish to you, and I believe you. As long as that's your narrative and price is going up and it agrees with that narrative, I fully fucking believe you. So it's like, now that we're downtrending, I'm gonna find whatever bearish narrative I can to kind of just add confluence to my bias. And I don't really even have to do that because I just look at Smiley's tweets and he just does it for me.
Yeah, I look at macro for that pretty much, and I saw top signals when it comes to doc coins, etc. But to add onto your point when it comes to ETH merge narrative, I think sure in the long run the supply shock with ETH it matters a lot, just like the Bitcoin halvings matter a lot in the long term and like in the 5-10 year perspective, in the cycle perspective. But in the short term, people thinking that ETH is gonna flip BTC, that ETH is going to fucking 10K. Listening to Arthur Hayes or reading the Arthur Hayes,
Yeah.
whatever his articles are, I simply don't agree with that. I think that crypto is pretty, as other markets are pretty desperate for any bullish narrative, and anything that's going on, and now we have the merge, they will take it as bullish, and Ethereum will perform, Ethereum Classic will perform, altcoins will perform. I don't know if you're watching my screen, but BTC did nothing pretty much. Do you have my screen on?
Yeah, I'm showing your screen.
So pretty much like you can see that Ethereum just went ballistic from the breakout. It's
Yeah.
like 70 something percent. Well, BTC, it's just abysmal. And when I see that, I cannot really consider this rally healthy. I cannot consider this rally to be anything more than a bear market rally. And participants are pretty desperate to find any narrative. If Solana had an upgrade, Solana would boom. Everyone would be like, Solana flips Ethereum. It's the new Ethereum. It's the new future of finance. But these narratives are just a byproduct of S&P 500 of equities rallying and having a bear market rally. I'm gonna turn on this meme line. So they're just a byproduct, and we're higher beta to the equities. And pretty much now, today, a few hours before this recording, we just had a resolution. I was like, we're either gonna go much higher, which is like 4.4, 4.5 on S&P, or we're gonna hear Powell pretty much stick a middle finger to everyone, to every bull there is, and that's what happens. And I think I'm gonna look for swing shorts here when it comes to September and October, and I'm gonna be targeting much lower. But yeah, let me open up with some longer term. With this, you can see my targets for S&P pretty much. This is complete doomfest,
I
which
think I
brings
pretty much
BTC
have the
very
same
low.
targets. Yeah.
I mean, they're technical targets. They're not some macro genius, super brain targets. They're just technical targets. They're
Yeah.
even more visible on the monthly time frame. What I do want to say is let's paint a picture for your viewers that usually just watch the meme lines, etc. I think we have an inflationary decade ahead of us with disinflationary periods where policymakers try to keep the demand under control. What does that mean in simple terms? It means that inflation is here to stay. I don't see any really resolutions to the inflation apart from rate hikes, and rate hikes historically bring inflation down. They bring recession to the market, and there is a statistic that when recession comes, inflation goes down in every case, which is 100% win rate. It's about, I don't know, like 20 cases. You can see that on my screen. So
Yeah.
every time we enter a recession, inflation goes down. Sure, that's a good case. But the only way to decrease inflation is to reduce demand, which brings us into recession. Unemployment would increase, and inflation might come down with recession and rising rates. But if internal issues aren't resolved, it will come back soaring after the recession. And I will come back to these points. So the inflation could be solved in the next few quarters by entering a recession. But in the next decade, I think the inflation is here to stay until the internal issues are solved, which again, I will come back to in a bit. I have another chart which shows historical rises of rates. This is recent history. This is 2004, 2006, and this is like a few years ago, and this is now. And people think the pivot is coming, and we have much higher inflation than we had in this period, and way higher inflation than we had in this period a couple of years ago. Like this inflation is record when it comes to the last 100 of years, almost record. So, and Europe is in much worse state than USA. So people thinking we're gonna pivot, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it literally. I'm not buying it figuratively.
Yeah.
I'm 80,
And you're
80,
not
80
buying
I'm
it literally.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
80% in dollars and 20% in gold. Gold hasn't been performing as much, but it hasn't been nuking, so that's fine with me. And dollar, which I have targeted months ago, is looking fantastic. Let me just find the original Dixie call. Here it is. Pretty much, I call it. When was it? Yeah, in May. And I have much higher targets actually for Dixie. I think it's breaking out now. It had an argument for a double top, but it's going to invalidate that after today's speech. And I had a lot more gold back then. I have a lot more USD right now. So pretty much my target for dollar, which you all know hurts all your risk assets and all your shit coins, is 120. And so far I have been correct. So I think the 120 is coming. It's gonna shit on euro. It's gonna shit on ruble. So I think that's what's happening. And until that happens, I'm not gonna be bullish on risk assets. And that's also technical standpoint. You can see the
Yeah.
highs from January 2002. I'm aiming for these highs. And when we come to this, if we come to this, I'm going to reevaluate my macro standpoints. If the situation is just as bad, I might as well move my targets upwards. But I have an intuition that situation will not be as bad in a few quarters, and the bull market for the US dollar is going to calm down a bit. I can already see weaknesses in some of the indicators. Per se, weekly RSI is already trending downwards, which is something BTC did in 2020.
Interesting.
Let me show that. So BTC here already started to show downtrend in RSI, of course, before topping
Gotcha.
out.
Yeah.
So that's already showing weakness, but this is a blow off top, so there's still room to go. And Dixie is showing the exact same thing right now. The RSI on the weekly is trending down while we're going
Shaping
simply.
up similarly, yeah.
Yeah, and
This
I
guy
think
this
the blow
guy's
off top. I think the blow off top is coming for Dixie.
this guy's making fun of my moving averages, calling them meme lines. He's fucking over here using RSI. Are you kidding me?
And you can see it's working in some cases. I
Yeah.
let me
I do
just
want to
come back to
say,
that.
as someone who used to use RSI for years, people tend to just look at things like divergences and just take them
That's
at face
incorrect.
value. Yeah, and
Yeah,
they
that's
use them
incorrect.
very incorrectly.
Yeah,
Divergences are not appropriately used if you're trying to use them as a reversal indicator. I know a lot of
exactly,
people use them that way and they use them wrong. It's not right. If you're ever looking for a divergence, you should look for it in the direction of the trend.
exactly.
Otherwise,
Uh,
you're susceptible to you go fucking macro bearish on Bitcoin at 45K and then it keeps going to 65, right? In the next month afterwards and you just blow out, your entire account. Things like that. So divergences can be, indications of momentum. But more often than not, they technically speaking, I talked to a good friend Loma, someone who we both widely
yeah,
respect and know is a good friend, and he told me he ran the back tests and bear divs and bull divs on RSI is
it's not
actually a
good.
losing care. It's actually
Yeah,
a
it's not
losing
good.
indicator. It's
It's
sub
not good.
30% win rate. So
Yeah,
if you're
exactly.
using them and applying them every single time that you see them, you're a fucking loser. Like you're just going to lose.
Well,
It's statistically not probable for you to win. So you have to know, just like anything in TA, really, it's more valuable to know when not to apply it than it
I
is to
see
know
it.
when to apply it.
I see it as it is. RSI, by definition, is relative strength index. That's
Yeah.
what it means. So I'm looking for strengths and weaknesses. This is a bearish divergence, but will I short here in an uptrend, in a full-blown
Right.
macro risk-on money printer going burr? Of course not. I'm just gonna see this as a weakness.
Yeah.
But
And
that's
then
that's
you'll
all I'm gonna see, and then I'm gonna anticipate a blow off top, which I did, and I'm gonna come back to that how I anticipated a 65K top in October 2020. I have all the screenshots. So when we were here, I said that we're gonna top at 65, 70K, but I'm gonna leave that to the end of the video, which is a
let's
special
actually just
something.
leave it for another video. How about that? You think about that?
Okay,
All right,
yeah,
man.
sure,
We'll
sure,
give everybody something to look forward to. I think that's
yeah,
pretty good about for now. I think that's enough. So really, the sum up is I come in and I tell everyone, "Hey, the market is fucked amongst all time frames," and you come in and kind of attribute the macroeconomic standpoint behind that exact same thought process. So we're on the same page. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, go show Smiley some love if you haven't already. Follow him on YouTube. Not YouTube. Follow him on Twitter. And as always, you guys know that I'm partnered with Bybit. So if you guys want to sign up and use my referral link and, um, you know, whatever, I guess, help me out, that's probably the best way to help me. There's donation addresses. I will split anything that you donate half and half with Smiley so that he can enjoy some avocado toast just as much as I can. And yeah, have anything you want to say, Smiley?
Well, I had a lot more content to provide, so I think I had like three times more this. So I think we're gonna do another video. I just
Yeah,
want to
man.
present everything. I have a lot more to say.
We will for sure.
So yeah,
All right, guys. I hope you
thank you
enjoyed the
for having me,
video.
man.
Yeah, always, man. All right, Smiley, good friend. Show him some love. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Much love. Take it easy.